Celtics Beat.
Brought to you by Prize Picks.
Hey everybody, welcome in. Happy weekend, happy 10-game check-in on the Boston Celtics, who come in at 4-6. There have been some disappointing moments. There have been some uplifting moments. And right now, 1-1 in the NBA Cup group play standings. For anyone out there who should happen to give a singular damn about that, I don't. Adam Kaufman, Brian Barrett from The Ringer, host of the Off the Pike podcast. Make sure you check that out. Good friend of the program. Evan Valenti, of course, here as always. 3 Syracuse guys coming at you, where the football team and the basketball teams are, one's a roughly 29-point dog today and the other a 28, 29-point favorite. We're not going to spend any time talking about that. What we are going to talk about, first and foremost, before all things Celtics, is technology. Because anyone who listens to this program or watches this show on the CLNS All Access page, the YouTube page, or even if you just subscribe to the podcast audio only, we've had some hiccups along the way with Evan Valenti's sound. It is not Evan's fault. Technology has been a bit of a bear, an Achilles heel to us, but we think maybe, Ev, the issue has been addressed.
We are aware of this. I'm totally aware of all the things that have been happening. So let me just try to troubleshoot what the problem was. Has been very interesting. It's not my microphone, because we've done shows with the mic, without the mic. It hasn't mattered. We've done different types of internet, whether I'm on Wi-Fi or if I'm hardwired in. That hasn't mattered. Now I bought a new laptop. So let's hope that this is the final solution here. Because after this, I'm not quite sure what to do. I just want to say
you might just retire from the podcasting game.
I know. I want to thank all of you that have texted me or DM'd me or sent me, tweets on Twitter or in the comment section. I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. I'm hopeful that we have found the solution here with a brand new laptop. So if this doesn't work, it's Amit's fault, and I don't know what to do.
Ev here cares so deeply about all of you and this show that he went out and spent thousands of dollars on a new computer to rectify this issue. So let us hope, let us pray that we have a nice, crystal clear communication with you over the course of the next 45 minutes, hour, whatever it is. And the good news is, so far, Ev, you sound great.
Oh, please, I'm begging you. I hate this as much as you guys do. Trust me.
All right. Normally, guys, I would probably open up the show. I wasn't with you last week, so Ev has touched on more in season than I have. Obviously, I would go on a little monologue, a little diatribe about all that has gone right, all that has gone wrong, the highs, the lows, and I know we're going to touch on those things sprinkled in throughout the show. Really, where I just want to start very simply here, Brian. I don't know if I've ever called you Brian. Barrett. Here's where I want to begin: is how we feeling. Just how we feeling about this team compared to expectation. Everyone had kind of a different expectation coming into the year. Some, it's tank for AJ or Boozer or whoever. Others, it's no, look at the East. This is a playoff team. Tread water until Tatum inevitably comes back. And then obviously the people who have joined us throughout the last several weeks, months, that kind of landed in the middle. Where were you going into the season, and where are you right now after you've seen 10 games?
Yeah, I convinced myself that they were going to overachieve just based on the guys that they had, right? The pedigree that they had. But it's been disappointing to me for a couple of reasons. Like right now, when you sit at 4-6, you're saying, and I think I said with you guys on the pod before that it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they had like a high lottery pick, right? And have a young player start, especially considering how great this draft is, to pair with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for the long term. But I wouldn't be opposed to them going over the 42.5 that it got to by the time the season started and being a playoff team. But now it's like, are you just going to be in the middle and not really have a great draft pick and not potentially make the playoffs, or maybe make the play-in game and lose in the first round? So it's kind of weird, the space you're in. There's been some bright spots, certainly, but it's also not a great brand to watch right now. Like Pritchard and Jaylen are doing their. Pritchard was awesome in the game against the Magic. I thought Jaylen was really good. The Simons thing, I know it was discussed on the post-game show here last night on CLNS Media. Bizarre situation with Simons, and I'm sure we'll address it at some point. But and the fact that you don't have a big besides Keita, like we knew the big man rotation was going to be bad, but to the point where when he's on the court, you have the best defense in the NBA. When he's off the court, you basically have a defense that plays like the 27th best defense in the league, that you're that dependent on Cater right now. So yeah, it's been, I'll say this, number one positive is Jaylen Brown looks like Jaylen Brown from 2 years ago prior to the injury. I think that would be the number one positive. We've seen some stuff from the young guys, and I think Minot's been a pretty good find for them, but I'm not enjoying watching the product right now, guys. I will say that.
Ev?
No, I mean, the thing that I will say that we were right about is this is the worst rebounding team I think I've ever seen in my life. It is comically bad. And it's not for, like, some guys are really trying. Like, Minot's really trying out there to grab every rebound. Ugo is trying as best as he possibly can. Like, the guys are trying. It's just they don't have the size. And, like, if, and again, I'm sure Luka Garza is a nice guy. But
it's never a good lead-in.
I just can't do it.
He's terrible.
He is a liability in so many different ways that it's hard when he's out there to take this team seriously at all. And again, we all knew this was coming, but to watch it in reality is ridiculous. And it's like you go from Neemias Queta, who was a depth piece for them, would come in high energy, and if he was feeling it, great. If he wasn't looking so hot, he would just get yanked from the game. Now it's, if he's not on the floor, this team is a disaster. I mean, an object disaster. I can't believe this team is 10 games in, and one of my biggest questions is, what would they do / where would they be without Neemias Queta? Because if he's not playing, they're kind of dead in the water, boys. And again, maybe that's just like, hey, let him get as much run as possible, see how this goes, and we'll address this next year. But if you're trying to compete at all this season, this just can't be the solution. It just can't be.
Well, look at this for a second here, okay? Just briefly. 236 minutes with Queta on the floor. Celtics are plus 82. 244 minutes with him off the floor. They are minus 59. So 141 point swing. Garza is a team worse, minus 40 in 117 minutes. He's a minus 40. He is not good. Like, nothing. Like, what does he do? I want to know that. Like, he can offensive rebound a little bit. He can't shoot. Everyone's like, hey, look at his 3-point rate. He takes a bunch of threes. I'm like, yeah, but he doesn't hit them. He doesn't hit threes. He takes a lot of them, but he's never hit them. So, yeah, the big man situation is just a complete debacle. What if Queta goes down, I mean, knock on wood, for like 3 weeks? Like, you're porked. Season's over.
Yeah, it's been, look, this is not a revelation, oh my goodness, have you guys seen the Celtics front court situation? Like, we knew for months, the entire offseason, this has been a topic on every single edition of Celtics Beat, any show any of the three of us have ever appeared on. Obviously, what you're doing on your
like literally titled, this is the worst rebounding team in the league. I think I titled it, Celtics have worst front court in the league.
I don't know how many times I have said on this program that they are dealing with a G League front court, that this is the worst front court in the NBA. It's a problem. I will say Queta obviously has been a bright spot even beyond what I could have expected from him, riding the high of Eurobasket in Portugal and all of these things. He has been awesome. Garza, not that I had high expectations for him, but he has absolutely been a lot worse than I would have anticipated. Boucher is not even a part of this rotation. That I did not see coming. I thought this guy was going to have an impact on this team. You could go up and down this roster with just, are they meeting, exceeding, or coming below your expectations? And we know, like, 3-point shooting for this team has been a big topic. One of the big questions that we had throughout the offseason, Ev, was, are the Celtics going to change their style of play, or are they still going to be taking 45, 53s a game? Now, what I will say is they're at 46. That's their average, and they're shooting at 32%. That's terrible. A couple games ago, obviously, against Washington, we see their lowest 3-point volume and their highest hit rate. And of course, everybody celebrates the success from 2 and says this is now how you need to play, even though, honestly, if you look at some of the metrics, they've been doing a lot of that throughout the early games. But then it goes into this latest game against Orlando that for a while you're down big, you rally, you come back, you inject some life into Celtics fans watching on TV who weren't in the building, and then it all kind of falls apart at the end again because it's this unreliability. You have Jaylen Brown, who we'll spend some time on. Let's save him for a little bit. Has been this has basically been the perfect version of Jaylen Brown. A lot of what we talked about with Jason Tatum in the playoffs last year and over
Besides
the last couple
hair.
of years. Other than the hair coming off on other guys' uniforms, not ideal, not what you're looking for. But other than that, on the court, the way he's playing, awesome. But then obviously you have this, is Peyton Pritchard, should he be starting? Is he taking on too large a role? Derrick White, I mean, you said, Ev, before, like, I'm sure Luka Garza is a nice guy. We know Derrick White's a nice guy. He's awesome. You know what? He's not playing awesome. He's got to be, given expectation versus reality, he might be the biggest disappointment for me on this team through 10 games. Overall, simply because, and this may be on me for inflating expectation, and I will own this if you guys think I should own this, or maybe you meet me here on this one. You'll have to tell me. He was so exceptional, so reliable as a bona fide number 2 last year whenever Brown or Tatum were unavailable. Now that he has been thrust into actually having to own this role, it has been deeply disappointing. Obviously, he just looks like a guy who, and this is not a knock on him because he was never projected to be this guy in the NBA. He's, by most people's standards, he has overachieved in his NBA career. But being thrust into this role on a regular basis, night to night without Tatum, even as well as Brown is playing, he has shown, whether it's him or a prolonged shooting slump or just the way they're using him or all of the above, Barrett, he's not equipped for it. And if you can't have him performing anywhere close to a level that he did last year, and I thought he'd be better than he was last year, given the opportunity, then this team truly has no shot at being a playoff team.
Yeah, I don't understand the Derrick White thing. He's now missed 100 shots, tied for the third most in the NBA. He is 149th out of 150 players in field goal percentage at 33.3%. And here's the thing. Wide open threes with a defender 6 feet away or further, he's 11 of 34, 32.4%. For example, Minot, who's got that long release, and I give him credit, like he's knocking down some threes as of late. He's 9 of 21 on wide open threes, 42.9%. I get this is all low volume now, but we're 10 games into the season, and Derrick White is still not shooting the ball well. I brushed it off the first couple of games. I'm like, he's too good of a shooter. Like, he's going to find his stroke, and he just hasn't. So I don't know how to explain that one. Like, he's doing other things. Like, he's playmaking. He's doing his thing on deep. I don't understand how he just, all of a sudden, he goes from last year, and this is not hyperbolic. He was one of the best high-volume three-point shooters in the league. Like, right now, he's taking more shots than he did last year, and he's averaging fewer points, which is really difficult to do, right? And the other thing that I would mention, as it pertains to Pritchard, he was struggling a bit shooting the three, shot the ball well against the Magic, of course. Yeah. But Pritchard has found a way to become this elite driver and elite two-point shooter. You look at his numbers on twos away from the rim. This is via cleaning the glass. He's 33 of 51. That's 64.7%. Best of any player in the league with at least 40 attempts on twos away from the rim. He is elite when it comes to that. Derrick White has a nice floater. Like, we saw one in the game against the Magic. Maybe get to that like a little bit more, because I right now, I feel like this part of it has got to be mental, because I watch him and I don't feel like any of them are going in. Like, even the one that he hit one on Wednesday night, that it hit the back of the rim and it bounced up super high and went in. And he kind of just like looked up in the air like, wow, I actually got one to go down. But he's like, it's not like the same thing over and over again, how he's missing. Like, he was missing a bunch long in the game. He's missed to the right. It's not like, oh, one thing to tweak. I don't get it. It's probably the most, like, the craziest thing that's happened to the Celtics this season, that this guy just can't shoot. It's weird. And I'm the president of the Derrick White fan club. We meet weekly. I got people dropping left and right. I'm having these meetings. Nobody's showing up. Nobody wants to come anymore.
You got to give more donuts, man. More donuts.
Yeah. You got to up the refreshment game. You got to get the snacks. Got to be better to keep.
Maybe I'll have to bring like adult sodas or something.
There
to
you
get
go.
People back.
But it like, of the things that to be concerned about of the season so far, the lack of bigs, the Luka Garza experiment has been one, and the Derrick White's been the other. And I have no faith in the Celtics' ability at this particular moment to turn the big man rotation around. There's just no way. The Derrick White thing has to eventually find its level, because this is getting to a point, like, this is not the guy that we've watched collectively over the past what, 3+ years here in Boston. Like, he was awesome. Basically, as soon as he got to Boston, it was like, he's awesome. And then there were some people that gave him a hard time in the NBA Finals, not this group. And the next year, when they won the title, he was awesome. He was awesome last year. And this is just weird. And the thing that I've always looked out for him is that mid-range game where he's got this little mid-range floater that if he's on, that shot is so deadly for him, and he hasn't been able to find the rhythm or the touch for that shot yet. Usually when he's got that going, all the other things start to fall in place. And at a certain point, it's going to be like, okay, what point is he going to be pressing to the point where it's like, I'm just trying to make things happen, but nothing good is happening. Then it takes us something that's completely out of what they want to do. To contrast him with Pritchard, like there was that stat last night where Pritchard has the highest field goal percentage on like drives in the NBA over Giannis, which like I think Giannis is in second place and Pritchard at the top. I think that was the number. It was like 72, 73%, which is insane. We can't just say that for Derrick White. And like when you look at the landscape and look at this team, I think we'd all love to have Derrick White on the team. But given what, your boss, Bill Simmons, said the other day, I don't know if he's going to be on this team come February, considering how poorly he shot. What's really annoying, though, is if you were to put Tatum back on this team, I bet you he'd be amazing. I bet he'd be just as good as he was the previous years, and we wouldn't be talking about this. But because there's no Tatum there, the burden might be too much. I don't know, but it just doesn't make me feel good.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people too will look at it and say, well, look who's defending him, or look at, like he's taken on more, like you said, the burden. It's not, but this has been pointed out ad nauseum. It's a lot of open looks. It's a lot of wide open looks, defenders not within 4 feet, all this stuff. Where you just brought up the Simmons thing, and this is actually where I wanted to go with this, Eth. And I want to say one thing for all of our listeners, all of our viewers. We love you. We thank you for sticking around with us. And I hope the reason that you keep coming back to this show is that the two of us, and then obviously Barrett, but any guest who's on the show, we make it a point, and I know this is true of Barrett's show, we believe in talking about this team in a high-level way, not just clickbaity kind of conversation that like instigates you and rage baits you, as my kids would say in the comment section on YouTube. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that just want to say, yeah, you got to trade Jaylen. You got to trade Derrick. I want to have intelligent conversation around that. And we've had conversation around whether or not you trade Jaylen Brown or Derrick White, not because you don't like them, not because they're bad players, not because you want to, but because just team building philosophy and the salary cap and the aprons and tax penalties and yada, yada, yada. I bring all of that up to say this. Derrick White's performance so far, and we know full well what this dude is capable of. This is a 10-game sample size. But if this continues, is it actually hurting his trade value? Is this sabotaging Boston's desire, if it does have one, to get rid of him for a max return? Is this performance that we're seeing so far, Barrett, getting in the way of that?
Yeah, look, it could be. And the thing that I would look at too is I think the interaction between him and Pritchard on the court isn't great. Not like that they don't like each other or anything, but just like if you look at the numbers when
chemistry isn't there.
Yeah, like when Jaylen's off the court, those two on the court together, they have a 100 offensive rating with those two on the court, Jaylen off. With just White on the floor, even though his shooting has been terrible, and Jaylen and Pritchard off, they have a 119.5 offensive rating, which would rank 4th in the NBA. So I do think there is something to that where Jaylen's off, it's like, wait, who's running the show? Is it Derrick White? Is it Peyton Pritchard? But like Peyton Pritchard, to his credit, he's putting pressure on the defense with the drives that Valenti mentioned, with his 2-point game. Derrick White is not putting pressure on the defense whatsoever. So going back to your point about White, like, yeah, if he doesn't get his shot back over the next couple of weeks, his trade value will go down. And like the Rockets make total sense, right? Because you think about that team, they don't have a point guard right now. And I know at last glance, they were number 1 in the NBA in offense still, which is kind of crazy, but we know what they can do from a defensive perspective. He would make sense there, right? Because you're not asking him to take a ton of shots. It's play defense, run some pick and roll, run the team a bit. And you look at that Houston team, you say, they have a Phoenix pick, right? And I know Phoenix has been sort of better than expected, but you get a first-round pick from Phoenix, like that's pretty valuable, right? So they have all their picks, and they have extra picks too that they could trade to you. And I think if you're the Celtics, I mean, you would be foolish not to entertain these things, considering where the team's at right now. And also, like, hey, you have got to find a way. And that's why I applauded the Minot deal, considering how he's played, because they put an extra year on it. Like, if he's a free agent next offseason, he's getting more than the Celtics
gone.
offered him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because of he's been impressive. Like, it's been a real positive for the season. So when you look at that, like, part of what I'm getting to here is like Ugo. If Ugo continues to play, and there's been flashes, like, that's important because in this new CBA, it's cheap labor for the NBA standard, right? Like, he's a guy not having a big. It's almost like the old thing, like the quarterback on the rookie contract. But now in this world in the NBA, you need to have guys that are on cheaper contracts. So if it's like, oh, we're going to get possibly a lottery pick, maybe 2 lottery picks at a potential, and maybe a young player in a Derrick White trade, it, like, you have to entertain it, because Jason Tatum, guys, he's only 27, right? I know, like, the whole 19 thing, but he's only 27. Like, he still has a long time, obviously coming back from an Achilles, but he still has, what, 4 or 5 peak years, like prime years in his career. So you still need to find young guys to go around him.
Have you have a quick thought on that before we hit the break?
It's just tough because, you know, the Celtics, I'm not saying like the Spurs didn't develop him, but the Celtics really gave him an opportunity to shine at a big level, right? And, you know, if things were different, we wouldn't be having this discussion. If CBA was different, we'd still be talking about Drew Holiday, who's looked awesome in Portland, by the way. And, you know, Porzingis, we'd still be talking about these guys as a unit together and, like, again, trying to compete for titles for the long term. But again, with the current NBA landscape, you know, at some point, someone is going to have to go. And whether it's going to be Jaylen or Derrick White, who knows? But given the first 10 games of the season, the answer is obvious. Jaylen has been unbelievable, and maybe we'll dive more into that later. Jaylen's been unbelievable. I mean, the Magic game on Friday night, he just took turns cooking everybody over and over and over again. And Derrick just hasn't found the rhythm yet. And so, again, this is no shot at Derrick. We are all big fans of Derrick White. It's just the nature of the business. And it's a conversation, frankly, I don't think any Celtic fan wants to really entertain and really have. Because, again, we all have Derrick White. But right now, not making it easy for the Celtics team that's already behind the 8 ball, considering no Tatum, the lack of bigs. The Derrick White part of this just weighs more and more because of the lack of talent right now.
All right, let's take a quick break. One, to tell you that so far, Evan Valenti just sounds crystal clear. So good. Also, a word from our good friends over at Prize Picks.
Quick break to tell you today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less and at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You guys know I love Flex Play. Flex Play bails me out of so many issues that I've had trying to get all 3, but I hit 2 out of 3. At least I get my money back. And with that being said, and again, for those of you like, Evan, why aren't you doing basketball? Yeah, I'm still collecting data. Okay, I'm still making sure we get this right, because when we do this, I want to make sure that we actually all can profit. So with that in mind, back to the NFL. We're going to Week 10 NFL. Kyle Monangai, who, if you had him in any part of your lineups, he definitely did some serious stuff for you. So with that in mind, we're going more than 50.5 rushing yards versus the Giants. Not sure if DeAndre Swift's going to play. If he doesn't, this will definitely go up, if I had to guess. So we're taking Monangai more than 50.5 rushing yards. Demario Douglas, pop for the Patriots, more than 36.5 receiving yards versus the Bucs. Now, no Kayshon Boutte. Stephon Diggs is still the number 1 target. Hunter Henry is a favorite of Drake May's, but Douglas has done some serious damage recently. We're gonna stay on that trend as we keep this thing moving. The last part of our lineup, Jahmyr Gibbs, more than 97.5 rushing and receiving yards versus the Commanders. Why do I pick that? Well, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get the ball. I'm not sure if he's going to run it or if he's going to catch it from Jared Goff. I have no idea, but he's probably going to have a big impact on a Commanders team that probably won't be able to move the ball too much. And Jahmyr Gibbs will probably get most of the playing time over David Montgomery. So I like Jahmyr Gibbs in that spot. Again, Monangai, more than 50.5 rushing yards. Pop Douglas, more than 36.5 receiving yards, and Jahmyr Gibbs, more than 97.5 rushing and receiving yards. Those are my flex play for this weekend. And if you get all three, 3x, hit 2 out of 3, that's 1x, bets your money back. And getting your money from Prize Picks cannot be any easier. In as little as 15 minutes, watch that money roll into your account. And Prize Picks uses everything, including Venmo, which is what I do, to get my money the quickest. Download the app today. Download Prize Picks. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. Again, download Prize Picks today. Code CLNS and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Back with Barrett, Ev, Adam. We are talking about the Celtics and the ups and downs of this 4-6 start to the season, where at this moment, Boston is just outside the play-in tournament. Again, I'm not going to make a big deal out of that. I mean, honestly, if you look up and down the Eastern Conference standings at the moment, like Orlando, who a lot of people, going into the season had as an Eastern Conference finalist at the very least, maybe even representing the East in the NBA Finals. That team is sitting at 4-5 heading into this matchup between these two teams on Sunday. 10th, the last play-in tournament spot in the East. Atlanta, a lot of people high on the Hawks. 9th play-in tournament team as it sits right now. The other teams behind the Celtics, the Hornets, the Pacers, the Nets, the Wizards, that makes sense. That is all clear. But, the 1 through 10 right now, and even 11, if you think the Celtics are going to be better than they are, as I do, it's a little upside down. Even the Bulls, 6-2. The Pistons, obviously a playoff team and maybe even a top 4 seed, according to a lot of people going into the year, but 7-2. I don't know how many people saw that. So it's been an interesting start to the year, clearly across the board, and injuries sprinkled in throughout already, this load management, everything. But a guy who has not taken any time off, unless you force him, unless you make him sit down, is obviously Jaylen Brown, who we've talked a little bit about. And so far, he's answered the bell. Any questions going into the year as to whether Jaylen Brown could be a true number one if given the responsibility. I don't think the three of us had that question, but there were people out there that definitely did. Brown so far through 10 games in just 31.7 minutes per game, which is the fewest he has played since all the way back in the 18-19 season, Jason Tatum's first year. 28 points per game. That is a career high. 54% shooting on 20 attempts per game, both either career or in the vicinity of career highs. 37% from three-point range. He's actually done better than that in the past, but it's been a few years. 6 attempts per game, though, so he has lived, in the mid-range. 5.8 free throw attempts per game. Career high. I love to see it. And he is on the verge of 80% free throw shooting, which people in his first few years would have thought was impossible. The rebounding, 4.9. The assists, 4.2. Those are both fine. The rebounding should be better. Rebounding's actually a lot lower, and it's been really throughout the majority of his career. The assists, fairly consistent to what they were last year when the playmaking went up. Turnovers, that's a problem, 3.6. He basically has a 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That you're not looking for. He's not been perfect. I'm not claiming he's been perfect, but he has been great. What I do wonder, guys, and the Celtics are going to need to get better, a lot better, to start the process, Barrett, of answering this question is, right now, Brown has shown he can be a number one on a bad team. Can he be a number one on a good team or a very good team? That remains to be seen. But so far, any weaknesses in the Celtics collective game, you generally cannot put on Jaylen.
Yeah, and I would say, too, if you look at his potential assist numbers are at a career high. Going back to the whole idea we were talking about earlier, this team is 27th in the NBA in three-point percentage, so he should have more assists. So I think his playmaking's been good. And to the number one point, I don't think he can ever be a top tier number one option. But I also say it's tough to judge him with this team considering the lack of talent. If you just took Tatum out of the equation and you still had Porzingis and you had Drew Holiday and you had Al Horford, heck, if you still had Luke Cornett, I think you could critique the record and put some of that on Jaylen. If the record was 4-6 and you had all those guys, then I think that could be a fair conversation. But right now, it's just not a very talented team around him, and he's been outstanding. I do think the three-point shooting has come down recently. He's 1 of 6 against the Magic, and we've seen since the calendar turned to November. October, he's red hot from 3. But even if that comes down a little bit, which I expect it to be, Like, if he's better than league average, I'm fine with that because I don't think he's ever going to be a great 3-point shooter despite the October numbers. But the big thing to me is like his athleticism is back. We saw last year, of course, he had to have the knee procedure, got shot up to try to play through it. And he wasn't the same dynamic athlete getting to the basket and getting to his mid-range game. Like, you look at his numbers at the rim this season, he's 33 of 39, 84.6%. That's third among guys that have taken 30 shots at the rim. He's behind like Jokic and Zubac, two like big men. So he's finishing at an elite level. If you look at just 2-pointers made, he's third in the NBA behind Giannis and Shea. He's made 85 twos. And to the point about like carrying the team, well, when Jaylen's on the court, they play like the 7th best offense, 117.7. When he's off, it's 109.2, which would be 25th. I think he's been better than I would have expected coming into the season. Like, I was wondering, hey, can Jaylen continue to get better as a player, right? Considering where he's at, and considering also like one of his, or maybe his superpower is his athleticism, right? His ability, he's a specimen. We all know that. He's extremely strong. He's extremely athletic. Like, how is your prime shorter when you're that type of player? And he's having his best season. He's been outstanding. It's really difficult. Yeah, he's loose with the ball sometimes. It's really difficult for me to critique anything with Jaylen. He's been exceptional. All the areas you want him to get better, points in the, going back to what he's been great at, in transition, points in the paint, mid-range assassin, all that stuff is back. Like, he's playing at a very, very elite level.
And it's about the athleticism, in my opinion, because like if he can't get by guys, a lot of what he does, the fancy footwork in the mid-range, it all gets kind of wiped out. Like if you don't have to account for Jaylen's speed, then you don't have to worry about him getting by. You can play him way differently. And now that he has his athleticism back and he's blowing by guys, now you have to respect his first step a little bit differently. And then it changes things for him and the way he can attack guys. The stuff that you're seeing from him as a mid-range guy is what made you, fall in love with him a few years ago when he was just unbelievable. I think the year they won the title, or maybe the year prior to that, he was like better than Kevin Durant in the mid-range. Like, it was like legitimately one of the best guys you could possibly ask for in the mid-range at that time. And he's coming back to that. And it unlocks every part of his game. We know he's not an awesome 3-point shooter. There's going to be moments where he's awesome. There's going to be moments where he's not awesome. It's just more about rhythm. It's more about the other stuff for me that I always get more concerned about. And as Barrett said, the potential assist stuff. When I had Jack Simone on last week, Jaylen was averaging 11 potential assists a game, which if you had told me that when he was first playing in the league, I would say there is no chance in hell Jaylen Brown is going to average anywhere close to 5 assists a game. Well, if guys are making shots, he's probably 5, 6, 7, somewhere up there. So there has been a maturation to his game for sure. And of all the things that the Josh Minotts and the Ugo Gonzalez's, the recent play of Jordan Walsh and Pate Pritchard looking off, like there have been some highlights, been some obvious moments where like, wow, that's going well. The Jaylen Brown is with a bullet, like the most important thing that has happened this season. He has shown himself to be a real guy. And a lot of people have questioned whether he could really carry a team. Carrying this team, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he can carry this team to the playoffs. Could he carry a better team? For sure. And again, when Tatum comes back, life gets a lot better. But it's hard to look at what Jaylen's done and walk away anything other than impressed, because everything that you've wanted to see from Jaylen, from a creator, the dribble, he's always going to be loose with it. He's always going to average 3 to 4 turnovers a game if he's really the primary initiator. That's just the way it is. But the way he makes reads, the way he cuts, the way he gets his shots off, like that, all that stuff's gotten better. And frankly, Kaufman, I couldn't ask any more out of him.
If the NBA worked like the NFL, let's say, and who doesn't go back from time to time and think about how the Patriots, sure, they like Will Campbell, but they shot themselves in the foot by going out Joe Milton, Gerard Mayo, winning that final game against all of the Buffalo players that obviously didn't play. I mean, cost themselves the number 1 overall pick. Even if you weren't going to use number 1, you certainly weren't going to take a quarterback. You could have traded down, still got Will Campbell, gotten all this draft capital. You know what I'm saying? In the NFL, you can dictate your future. You can openly tank. You can strategically lose. In the NBA, we see year after year, time after time. I mean, ask fans in Washington, Utah, among others, how they're feeling about last year's draft. When Dallas was a play-in tournament team, had a less than 2% chance of winning the lottery, got Cooper Flag. Everybody shouts rigged in the wake of the Luka Doncic trade, and here we are. The Celtics, sure, They could be a play-in tournament team, lose, not go to the technical playoffs, and still finish with a top 3 pick. I don't think it generally works that way. Usually you do need to at least come close to bottoming out. With what you've seen through 10 games, Barrett, Ev, you as well, knowing, and you highlighted this, right now it looks like a stud draft class, not just at number 1, but 1 through 3, 1 through 5. Like there's a good crop of prospects there at the top of the draft, and different guys that would fit you and your system very well. And you talk about high caliber players on cheap money deals in the, it relatively speaking. What would be right now? It's easy to ask going into the season, but right now with what you've seen, now that we've put eyes on it, has it altered your perspective in terms of what you want? Like, do you find yourself watching these games night to night and saying, you know what, screw it, just have your rebuild, develop Walsh, develop Ugo, hopefully, Minot, obviously incredible bright spots. Some of these guys, maybe they emerge. You know who Jaylen and Derrick is, Peyton, Hauser, who all these guys are. Let's get a phenom in here. Or do you want that playoff spot and then hope for the best in what is clearly a wide open East if and when you have Jason Tatum back?
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather get a high draft pick, and maybe it's not, like you said, the top 3 pick, but the other reason that you would want that is just because, well, you can use that as capital for a trade, right? Like we see all the time in this league, you get disgruntled players. Like, can you use a first round pick to pick up somebody via trade? Brad Stevens, we've seen historically, he's been very good in trades, whether it's the Smart Porzingis trade when you got the draft picks as well. The Drew Holiday trade was kind of just like a no-brainer. It's like, hey, this is what you have to give up. First round pick, Robert Williams, you do that in a second. But just having that ability to have like a valuable asset if the Celtics do end up somewhere in the lottery. But to the first point about like, do you cheer for them to? I can't. Like, I can't watch a game and cheer for them to lose. I was getting so aggravated in the New Orleans game where Zion wasn't playing. I'm like, please. And then the Utah game on Monday night, I was getting so upset during that game. I'm like, what is going on? Like, can somebody guard George just like a little bit? Can somebody like try to defend him? And man, that was and even the Orlando game, very aggravated with how that thing turned out. Like, this team is searching for offense and we're not playing Simons in the first half. Like, what are we doing? Simons went nuts in the fourth quarter, had the 11 points, hit critical threes, and then they took him out for 3 minutes during that and finally brought him back in. I'm like, why is Simons off the court? He's the reason you're in the game. So, yeah, to answer your question, I can't cheer against him, but I do know in the back of my head, like, the best result for this team is to end up somewhere in the lottery, whether you make that pick and you get a young player to pair with Jaylen and Jason Tatum going forward, or you use that pick to trade for some sort of veteran that fits with those guys.
I would argue the most frustrating thing was that first quarter against Washington. Like, that was,
especially after Utah. I told you, I texted you, I said, this is my breaking point. This game is the line of demarcation. If the Celtics lose to the Wizards, I'm out. I'm rooting for a loss every game the rest of the year. Now, obviously, they go on and they win that thing by, plus 40 over the final 3 quarters. But that was the game. That was the needle mover for me. If that had gone sideways the way Utah did, I was done.
Yeah, no, that made a lot of sense. But it's just like, it's hard. It's given the current landscape. I mean, look at what VJ Edgecombe's doing for the Sixers right now.
Yeah,
like, literally changed their entire complexion going forward. I'm not even talking about Cooper Flag. That's over here. And it's funny that they've had the worst offense in the history of the NBA from an efficiency standpoint the first 10 games. Never would have seen that coming.
It's crazy when you ask an 18-year-old forward to play point guard to start his NBA career. What could possibly go wrong
on a team with 17 bigs?
Yeah, it makes no sense. They have nobody on the team that can dribble. Can I ask you guys this one question?
Sure.
Do we know, is Simons like anti-UFC? Is he anti the town? Is he anti-Man City? Like,
why does Joe hate him?
Yeah. What is it, right? Like, he didn't play in the second quarter against the Wizards either. I'm trying to figure this out. I don't get because even if like he's not part of it, like you trade him at the deadline, right, to save money or whatever, you'd like to have some value on that player. Like, I don't get it.
Well, unique.
He wasn't particularly good in the first half.
Like you said, he played 2 minutes in the opening half, but he was a minus 11. Like, that's almost impossible. I saw a buddy of mine text me. He's like, was he just laying there? Like, how do you go minus 11 in 2 minutes?
Yeah, but he got you back in the game in the fourth quarter.
He did.
He went nuts.
Yeah. at a
that
point where
time
Joe
against
obviously had kind
Orlando,
of decided the game was already over.
well,
No, he tied it up.
Yeah, he got red hot. He hit a deep three that got him in rhythm, which it killed me because I was like, oh no. It was one of those no yes shots. And he got that. The thing with Simons is he can heat up immediately.
That's the thing. That's why I just think it's just weird how like his minutes fluctuate. Like it's weird
But he
that a guy
wasn't
would
giving you good minutes in the first half of the Orlando game. Again, he was minus 11 in 2 minutes. Meanwhile, Ugo and Walsh and Minot, but Minot has cleared so many people in the rotation that I don't even talk about that anymore. Minot's obviously over here. But Ugo and Walsh, like those guys are giving you at least energy minutes and are at least giving you defense. Like Simons isn't giving you any defense right now. He's just he might be trying, but he's just not that good. Like how many times did Orlando put him on Paolo, get whatever they wanted because they had Simons on Paolo or Simons on whoever they wanted to get him on, and he got killed. I mean that's the reality of it, where you have a Walsh who's picking guys up full court and he making Paolo pick up the dribble a few times. Ugo is literally insane. Like I love every second of it because it's just chaotic of him running around all over the place, trying to pick everybody's pocket and then run down. It's just fun. It's fun to watch. Those guys were giving you way more positive minutes and kind of got you back in the game in the second quarter. Like they were only down 8 going into halftime, and you had a way different feel for that game than you did at the end of the first quarter. End of the first quarter, it's like, oh God, you're going to get the doors blown off him by Orlando, who's been absolutely terrible this year. And to be fair, Orlando was red hot in that game, which they haven't been all season long. Like Wendell Carter Jr. is hitting threes, and it's just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Bane's hitting threes for the first time this year, which he should have been doing in the entire time anyway. Anthony Black's hitting shots. It's like, okay, part of this is because Orlando's shooting the lights out, but also part of this is just they're getting their ass kicked. But like the two guys that I would argue you need to see some stuff out of this year with Walsh, especially Walsh. Like Walsh, it's kind of a make or break year for Walsh. But with him and Gonzalez, they were at least giving you something off the bench. If Simons isn't hitting shots, then it's almost kind of like worthless to have him out there.
But he only played 2 minutes.
Fair.
Like he only played 2 minutes and he didn't play at all in the second quarter. My whole thing is just like, I don't think he's a perfect player, and I don't even think he's part of the long-term solution for the Celtics. But if I was in the front office, I'd be like, hey, can we play him a little bit more? Like if we're going to trade him, we'd like to get something back in return. And secondarily here with Simons, how many guys on the Celtics can actually get their own shot? Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, and right now, like, I don't even know. Can Derrick White break guys down off the dribble? So Simons is the third guy, right? Like he's the only and I totally agree. Like it's more important long term to see what you have in Ugo, and he's been so fun to watch. I mean, the other night he's like flying into the stanchion trying to block shots, right? And Minot's been fun to watch. And Walsh, like this is definitely a positive development what we've seen recently. I had almost wrote him off. I was writing him off like he's not going to be part of the equation. So that's more important. But I do think for a team that is struggling to score so often, Simon just has to have like a guaranteed spot in the rotation, right? Like he needs to get minutes because you need a scoring punch.
You're not going to get any disagreement from me. I mean, I was the one that was sitting here making the case for him to win Sixth Man of the Year going into the season, simply believing that the opportunity was going to be there. We've had Steve Bulpett on. He talked to execs around the league who said Anthony Simons might lead the Celtics in scoring this season because he fits so well into the Missoula ball system and shot volume from three and all of this stuff. And listen, I'm looking at it. He's taken a dozen shots per game, 7 of those from three, 42% shooting, 39% from three. It's not like he's shooting poorly. I mean, it'd be nice, obviously, take him up to 45 and 40 respectively. Like that'd be great. But he's not shooting poorly. The points per game average is not terrible or anything like that. He's sitting at 14. I thought it'd be higher. I thought it'd be closer to 18, something like that. It still could be. Again, small sample size, especially for a guy playing 26 minutes a game. But it's that defense, man. I mean, if he can't stop a nosebleed and if he's a turnstile out there, it's going to cut into his role on this team during impactful in-game minutes where the game is still in question. And I realize, he got hot in the fourth quarter. He tied that game. But I'm not sure Joe Mazzulla hadn't already kind of decided we've lost this game. Like, I know it wasn't a full-on empty the bench like what we've seen in some of these spots, Houston, Utah, but I don't think it was I don't think Joe at that point believed.
No,
we're
that
gonna
game
win
was
this
there.
game.
They could have easily won that game. That game was there for them in the fourth quarter.
It was there for that. Yeah, I mean, it was there for them in terms of the numbers they got back. They clawed back. It was there to take. I just don't know if Joe at the beginning of that rally believed it was there for them. I think they sort of stumbled into that, if that makes sense.
Well, one thing I would say to that point, like, I think Missoula always think he has a chance to win. I think he's just like an insane competitor. But the other portion of that, if you look at the minutes, it is kind of like, wait, hold on. Like, you would expect Jaylen's playing like 42 minutes and Derrick White's playing like 40 minutes a game, right? And Pritchard's
they're
playing.
low.
Yeah, so that is one thing where it's like, okay, they're not tanking, but they also know where they are in the landscape of the league, where they're not going to go full throttle all the time with their best players because they know it's more important for them to be at their best next year.
You know what? I get it with Jaylen. I get it with Derrick. You know, these are obviously, assuming they're both part of your future. They're well paid. They're assets. They're, what's the word I'm looking for? Pillars of the organization. Peyton Pritchard can't play 35 minutes a game. Like, I mean, he's got to be at 32. He seems like a dude that should be living out there and would want to. I think he would play 48 minutes a game if you asked him to.
Oh, yeah.
So that one surprises me a little bit.
Again, it's more about just, do we need to tire these guys out? What's the point?
Pritchard, I would tire Peyton out. Sure.
I just love watching him. I mean, the stuff that he does by
Pro-Am Peyton,
the use. I don't know if anybody uses their shoulders better and elbows better than that guy. He's just so good at just like that little he creates so much space with that. It's so good. I love it. As a guy that's short, like I just love watching him do that stuff. It just cracks me up because he's got a lot of strength and he's got a lot of chutzpah to get in the middle of the paint with these taller guys, man. I love watching him. He's been, other than Jaylen Brown, my favorite guy to watch in this team. He's been so much fun. It's been great.
What was Drew Carter calling him on Friday? Was it Paint Points P or something like that?
I don't know. I missed that.
It's pretty good. I think it was Paint Points P.
You got to keep trying. You got to keep trying them out there. See what happens. I mean, I'm into it. Drew's always doing a good job of trying to come up with fun ways to give guys nicknames. I think that's fun.
Yeah, he does get so much separation on that, though, Valenti. You're right. Like how he gets guys, he can get guys off him, and then he has like that 2-point step back where it's like almost like a follow away shot that he gets to. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I like how the refs let him do it. Like, because you could call some offensive fouls sometimes with some of the stuff he does, but it's also like, dude, that guy's 6'8", he's 6'2" or 6'1". Deal with it. Like, we're gonna let him have that one. Like what do you outweigh him by 60 pounds, guy? Like, deal with it. Like, he's got to find a little. I love that because you could sometimes you can call him for that stuff, but they don't because it's like he's got to find a way to make a living somehow. I think it's great.
All right, as we wrap here, guys, 3 games before we have our next show. The Celtics will play at Orlando again tomorrow as we sit here, at Philadelphia Tuesday, back home against Memphis and John Morant, provided he is still a member of the Grizzlies at that point, on Wednesday. And then there's a gap between Wednesday and Sunday. Just to look ahead to this next game in particular, my feeling going into the latest game against Orlando, the first one, I had said, when talking about this one, is I think the Celtics will lose the NBA Cup game on Friday. They will win the game on Sunday. They will split in Orlando. I don't think anything happened on Friday that changes my opinion in that regard, unless obviously like Jaylen and or Derrick are ruled out or something like that. But, if the Celtics are what they're supposed to be from a personnel standpoint, I do think Boston goes out, gets the win in this one. How do you guys feel about it?
I think they'll lose. I think
the size of Orlando is too much. Orlando's too big.
Orlando's such a they've been such a disappointment this season, but and especially considering what we saw from them that playoff series last year. I'm like, oh yeah, and then they got Bane. I'm like, this is an up and coming team, and Bane is just not. He's better last night, but he has not been great for that team at all. But yeah, I think the physicality will overcome the Celtics again, unfortunately.
I did hear Sean Grandy on the radio say and this was when the Celtics were leading at a point in Orlando last night, that C's have not won in Orlando in the regular season in 3 years. So be nice to crack that streak tomorrow as we sit here. But again, Brian Barrett on Twitter. It's Brian Barrett, hosts the Off the Pike podcast for The Ringer and Spotify. We always enjoy when he hops on here with us. And Barrett, don't be a stranger, man. We'll do it again real soon.
All right, fellas, enjoyed it.
All right, make sure you check out the CLNS YouTube page, specifically the All Access page for great Celtics beat and other Celtics-related podcasts across the CLNS Media Network. We're all over the place. There's also a lot of great Patriots coverage. That team, red hot, looking for 7 straight in Tampa Bay come Sunday, plus 125 on the money line if you want to invest. I know I'm thinking about it. I think Drake May takes down Baker Mayfield. Should be fun to watch. The Bruins surging 5 in a row. Can the Bees keep up their hot play? It'd be nice to get a winter season out of these Celtics and Bruins to not just sit here and look ahead to spring training. And oh, by the way, yes, we have Red Sox related podcasts as well. A lot of decisions for that team to be made here this offseason. For Brian Barrett, for Evan Valenti, I'm Adam Kaufman. Thanks to our friends at Prize Picks. Thanks to Ev's new computer. We appreciate you being with us. We'll talk to you again real soon.